Okay, it's a little after 9:30. We'll go ahead and get started with our meeting this morning, our committee meeting. There's only one public hearing this morning. The sign-up sheet is up front, so if you have not signed up, please do so for Senate Bill 2. We have 3 bills on the agenda today, but let's get started with the clerk calling the roll, and I'm glad that she has her voice back this week.
Senator Butler. Here. Senator Figures. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Price. Senator Shellnut. Senator Smitherman. Senator Stutz. And Senator Chasteen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we have 3 bills on the agenda. Let's have the clerk call the first bill.
Senate Bill 157 by Senator Orr.
Senator Orr.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for putting this on the agenda, and I'll kind of briefly explain the genesis of this. One of the things that has frustrated me, and I can't imagine being a classroom teacher, is trying to restore the ability of a classroom teacher to keep order in their classroom. You read accounts online and see the difficulties that classroom teachers have. And so scoured the country looking at different states of how can we help, excuse me, how can we help classroom teachers and what have other states done? Found a bill in Kentucky that we used as a guide, but then also found bills in or laws in Minnesota, Nevada, and a few other states that we incorporated in this. And this is a bill of first impression, so it's probably going to undergo a vetting process as first filed bills do. I've been contacted by one entity that wants to sit down and talk about some of the mechanics on it, and I'm certainly open to that and would like to do that and get a good product that we can all certainly be proud of. But the bill, as far as the tenets of it, it is somewhat lengthy, but it's somewhat simple to follow and understand.
Question?
Yes, I do.
Senator Smitherman.
Senator, let me, so you know the tenet of my thoughts. I served, someone told me last night, they said, it just amazed me how many jobs and things you've done in life. In another life of mine, I was dean of students at a junior college. That's the principal. They might well call it what it is. That's the principal of the junior college. Okay, I'm the ones who had to go in and get these students deal with these same issues that you were just talking about. And I'm gonna tell you this, and then I'm gonna tell you what about some things I want to share with you to look at. And yes, when I had some students in there, these old country words I'm using. When I had some students in there cutting the buck. That's what they call it, cutting the buck. I'd had to pluck them on out the room. Cause you're right, they were disturbing. I got 20 people in class. I got one who just teacher can't teach. The other 19. So I got to get you out of there. And it just so happened that I might have to bring him to my office, or I was blessed that the cafeteria and the little place right next to my office, so I could kind of get them out and deal with it and whatnot. So I understand what you are saying in here. And I think the general thought that you are saying is accurate. I want to say that to you. Now, the implementation part is a concern, and it's a concern because somebody talking to somebody else is not being disorderly. See, you said, what you mean? I have a theory about kids like this. All of them could be children out there. And no children could be standing up in them seats where the people are sitting down in. And some children, gonna be jumping up in seats. The child shouldn't come into a category because they're doing something wrong like that. I ain't talking about harming the person's body. You start getting concerned when they don't stop. See, a lot of times in these situations, the minute they do something wrong, then you got to go. You hadn't even asked the student to stop. You didn't even talk to the student or said anything. Y'all remember I gave an analysis like that when we was trying to deal with the students and the due process for students. I said, I walked up on the situation. The teacher is out there that made their own determination that they're pertinently wrong. And I said, just do one thing for me. Ask them why they did it. Just ask the question. They did. Then the student said, because they hit me first. I'm minding my own business, being a good student, and they come in there and hit me. What you think? They gonna hit me and I'm supposed to sit there and just look at them? You know, I got to get them up off me. And then you had the 3 little witnesses, 5-year-old kids say, yeah, that's right, that's what happened. So I think, first of all, this bill goes tantamount to due process for students. Tantamount. You can't throw somebody in jail and then don't give them due process. This throws them in jail. No, education jail is what I'm talking about. This throws them in there. You got to give them a process so that for the ones who are not. So I'm kind of glad you don't caught up to me, you know, and that's my due process bill. This is caught up to it. You must have that if you're going to have, not you personally, I'm just talking about the bill. You must have that if you're going to have this. It's just that simple. Ain't no sense talking about we think it. I don't know. Ain't no I don't know. If you're going to have this, you got to have that. So I just like downstairs, we passed that bill, whoever's on duty, that Senator Weaver had. But we got a due process that's going to deal with that if something is not accurate. So I'm just saying that first of all, and he said it best, the sponsor, is that there are some areas that we've got to tighten up in here that in terms of the application of it as well. So under that spirit, I support your bill to get it on out of here, to get to that point. And I want to actively engage with you, not just kind of 10 minutes before we get ready to see if we're going to consider it on the special order. I want to actively engage with you so that we can have some kind of way that happens. And I'm just glad to know that it's the last few years it has gradually soaked in the people's heads about what I'm saying in relationship to due process, because the House is taking that up now, and your counterpart, the chairman, is my sponsor in the House now. Correct. Because everybody's beginning to see how it's necessary to do that. And then I'm gonna say this and smile. And I'm so glad that everybody's finally been able to look at it and not just from politics. Everybody, state board, everybody to be able to step back in a political year. That's big, because they can look at what the problems we got objectively. So I just wanted to say that. I appreciate that. And I will support your bill.
Well, thank you. And, I see that, your bill is above, this is more low level type, beginning of the issue. And I know you and Representative Collins both have bills on that. And
It's the same bill.
Yeah, probably the wind blows favorably, but
Okay.
Dave, thank you for those kind words.
Yes. Senator Hatcher, you have a comment?
Yes, just a quick question, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Senator Moore, I guess I'm just concerned, I heard the word process. What would be, because I'm just trying to look through this really quickly, what would be the process for a student who's excluded from the class? Is that what you mentioned, the alternative school or something along those lines?
The bill calls for, if they're removed 3 times, that there would be a suspension or considered for placement in alternative school, that 3 times in a month. And then it also requires the local boards to establish an appeal process, and it gets in the granular. And I think the people behind me, Senator, as we sit down and get those nitty gritties kind of hammered out, they have some input to it, which like I said, I'm open to. You know how it is when the first bill didn't come from a particular group. We pick from that state and pick from this state, and we kind of got LRS to do their best to synchronize everything. And then now we'll see from people who implement it,
Right.
how it's going to flow and get some edits to it. But
So okay, good. So we got pretty much a working, because I guess my next question was going to be, I didn't see anything about those young people who maybe have IEPs, behavioral students who are presenting
yeah, there's
challenges.
nothing in here, but if, I can certainly make a note if we need to think about excluding them or
How you would,
how we want to handle that. And again, the people sitting behind me, I think can bring some input to that. But
because I know that can be a real challenge for
Excellent point.
teachers to deal with that one. Yeah, well, thank you.
and I'll make a note of that, Senator.
Okay, all right. Senator Smith, you have another question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Question, kind of comment, and I'll be brief. I know we have other things to do. Senator, he touched right on what I was kind of thinking about, and that is really that category of students that he's talking about, and there's ADHD and all those kind of students. They, in my opinion, sitting here right now, should be totally excluded from this whatsoever. And i.e. the reason why, two of the reasons why is that when you asking people who are not trained to be objective, it ain't no way that they gonna be able to do that on a consistent basis. They don't even know what they're looking at. They call it a kid being bad, won't behave, and these kids are medically challenged. Even when they take the medicine challenged them.
Right.
And so I don't even want those students to be subject to these local policies and locals' opinion, which will vary just like the temperature varies from Birmingham to Montgomery. It'll vary. So, and when you say the people behind you, I don't have no problem with them, all those people getting together and working to come up with something. But this individual, these people over in this system, they're going to throw them out for a year, and these people over in the system over here going to give them a warning. That deal, that goes directly to the heart of the Equal Protection Clause. You can't treat one group over here different and another group different and think you're not going to have any federal things, that's brought. So even if we do that, to that degree, I think that it ought to be some uniformity to it, whether it's got to come through the state board, whether it's got to come through wherever, that everybody has got to go by a certain set of criteria that resemble each other. So if I move out of the Jefferson County system and I move into Montgomery system, I'm going to face the same similar thing that I would do if we did that. We did it with crimes. That's why we had the Sentencing Commission, so that we have some uniformity, whether it's hard uniformity or soft uniformity. And I definitely think we're going to have this if this bill would move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Senator Orr, do appreciate your work on this bill. I know there's still some work to be done, as you said, and I appreciate you working with those who have some concerns over this. I do have a motion for a favorable by Senator Butler and a second by Senator Price. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Senator Butler, Senator Chastain,
Aye.
Senator Figures, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Price, Senator Shellnut, Senator Smitherman,
Aye.
Senator Stutz. Favorable.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Senator Orr. Bill's given a favorable report.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the two senators for their input. I've got notes, and that's very helpful, and I appreciate your sharing those with me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Senator Orr. Okay, clerk, call the next bill, please.
Senate Bill 35 by Senator Smitherman.
Senator Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
recognized. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I was really excited about. I'm gonna tell you what excited me, not the need. We've had the need to make sure that this take place, what we're doing here, but the excitement that I said this is gonna be a great reference point. The legislature, i.e., the majority in the legislature, okay, which is not us, majority, on Women's Month, y'all remember that? Women's Month. you all put together a resolution. And in that resolution, you gave recognition to everybody that you could who had history in this state, both black and white women. Okay? It was in the resolution. I said, that is the model that education need to be taught. Everybody's accomplishment in this state should be recognized and taught in conjunction. And what we've been able to do in this month with the Moments in Black History, the startling example of what I'm saying to the lowest form, not just pure form. You've heard pure forms of people that you hadn't heard about that have been Alabamians and have done things here in the state who are African Americans. But the one where we talked about Edison, you remember the light bulb? And you remember the light bulb was invented by Edison. But the filler inside, so the bulb will last us 6 months, 8 months, a year, was invented by an African American. It ain't nowhere, no books that they bring that out, that accomplishment of those people who made the accomplishment. This what this meant, pure history, to teach the history of this state of everybody. And that's what the bill's intent and purpose was.
Any question for the bill sponsor? Senator Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, when I think back when I was in school, and high school particularly, I think about teachers that made an impact. And one of the teachers that made a huge impact for me was a biology teacher that I had in the 11th grade. And not so much the biology that I learned, but he told us, when you pick up a book, the first thing you should do is look to see who wrote the book, and then ask the question, what authority do they have to write this book? Because it's possible you know more about it than they do. So I guess my question for you is, who determines the facts? Are you saying that what we're teaching in schools now is wrong, has been wrong for generations? What I learned wasn't right? Because you see where I'm headed with that. Whose facts are they? And you know, the other point I want to make before you answer that is, I want history to be factual. I want science to be factual. It's hard not to make math factual, but you know, I think this is the kind of issue. If what we're doing now is wrong, the state school board ought to be addressing this. The state superintendent of education, the local school boards, that what we're teaching is not right, and that's got to be fixed. And those issues, to me, ought to be decided on the state school board level and not the legislative level. We all want facts taught, but then we still got to say, well, whose facts? Because my facts and your facts are facts, but we may have a different thought of which one's right. And somebody needs to decide that we look at the books and say, who wrote this book? Do they have the authority to write this book? Are they knowledgeable on this subject? Is this a factual book? And if it is, then it's a good one for us to use for instruction. And if it's not a good one to use for instruction. But I'm not comfortable legislating that, because I think that the state school board ought to be doing that. So I'd like to hear your comment on that.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to that? I think one of the concerns I would have is to not get confused the notion of facts with opinions. And one of the things that and it's not a right or wrong question. It is a question of what is not included as a part of those facts. And I think the example that Senator Smitherman just offered is just that. There are countless numbers of young people who do not know the complete story, because ultimately it's somebody else's story that becomes a fact. So we do know that there's a way to gather the information necessary to have facts so that we can avoid this tyranny of incompetence with individuals who, for the most part, are seeking to do nothing other than just push forth their own agenda. So the idea would be objective facts. And I do think it's an issue that, unfortunately, we will have to take up legislatively, because it hasn't been done. And I know that the bulk of the history that I've come across in past years certainly was not in the history books that I was taught. So right here in Montgomery. So I think that with the accompaniment of this legislative body with such a bill, I think it would help us to help the state school board to do just what it is you're saying they should be able to do. And that is, finally, to be able to be very clear that what is fact and what is opinion, what is included and what has been excluded, so that we are all on the same page in terms of looking at the things that are necessary for us to have an understanding of the history. Same thing with the bill coming up with Senator Allen, is the history of that particular piece. So I think context matters. And this is one of those issues that I happily see as something that helps our young people to be able to have a better understanding, a better grasp of who they are in the space of the history of this country alone. So those are my opinions. But thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Senator Hatcher. Senator Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much. And to the sponsor, thank you for bringing this piece of legislation. One thing I would ask, if it's possible, I know this is a piece of legislation you've worked on before, and so what I would like, if you would do, and I know you will, let's engage with the state superintendent and engage as far as let me just say this before I finish. Engage also, before we move forward, also engage with the Superintendent Association and get their input. But in saying that, Mr. Chairman, I give favorable report. And
Okay, have a favorable report.
I'll second, but I'd like to be recognized.
Okay, Senator Schmitterman seconds. Who would like to be recognized? Or?
Let me say this, and this is not in relationship to your statement, it's more in relationship to his concern. This is a division of the issue. The issue is whether or not they ought to do it. The content, what he said, is the second phase of this issue. Whether we pass this bill and become law shouldn't be based on that aspect. It should be based on the aspect that do we inherently want to make sure that 30% of our population who has contributed to the development of the state is listed in our history as the students studied. And that's what this bill does. So I don't think that the hesitation of this bill should stop one bit because of what the senator has said, because the bill does not lay out that you got to believe this or believe that. That's the content is totally different than the right that it should be there. So this stands alone on itself that the right, we should be able to have that information, whatever is decided between what Webster says or what this book says about that history of the person, the fact that the person, just like that fellow element, did invent it, then that should be listed. Okay, and so it should be taught. But that's a different decision than what we voting on here today. And I'm talking even to the senator there, and I'm not being in the way, but I take serious issue if we gonna not move the bill forward because we are worried about which group is gonna say, whether it's the textbook committee, or whether it's the state board, because it's got to be a entity of that level. Local people know. These local folks don't want to say nothing about black folks, don't want it in there. This one don't care. No, that ain't, our history can't be passed around like that. We don't patch around the history, that we do generally in this state. So I'm saying that no, but yes. I'm saying yes to what he's saying in terms of it making sure that it's authentic and make sure that it's accurate. I agree with him there. But to not embrace this 100% that we should have the right to have the right literature in there is two different issues. That's two different issues. And I don't want that issue to get mucky with the issue that he brought up and saying we can't do nothing about that because we waiting around to meet with these folks about who gonna be the person that deals with the accuracy of it. Them two different things.
Senator, okay, we have a motion and a second. This time, clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Senator Butler? Aye. Senator Chastain?
Aye.
Senator Figures? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Price? Senator Shellnut? Senator Smitherman?
Aye.
Senator Stutz? 5-1.
Okay, 5-1, bill's given a favorable report. Thanks, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you.
Clerk, call the next bill.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Allen.
Okay, Senator Allen, we do have a public hearing on this. We also have an Education Budget Committee meeting here shortly, so we'll let you make a couple of comments, and then we'll have the person that would like to speak
Absolutely.
have a couple of minutes.
I'll just be brief. And of course, in 1812, when the British burnt down Washington, they marched on to Baltimore, and where Francis Scott Key was retained in a battleship. And the next morning, he saw the flag waving. So that inspired him to write a poem that eventually turned into a song called the National Anthem. And what this bill simply does is it requires all public schools in Alabama to sing or have it sung by the choir or the piano, vocal, once a week on a Friday morning. And it is a constitutional amendment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, before we take any questions, let's have the person to speak on the public hearing, if we could, please. Would you come up and state your name, please?
Yes, my name is Camille Bennett, and I'm the founder and executive director of Project Say Something out of Florence, Alabama. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of fight or the gloom of the grave. A line in the Star-Spangled Banner. This line is often omitted from contemporary performances of the poem in song form, and rightfully so. The line points to a dark reality. Anti-Black racism was and is a foundational piece of so-called American patriotism. This bill is historically incomplete. Page 2, line 50 through 53 says, for over 100 years, the Star-Spangled Banner has served to inspire generations of patriotic Americans, and it is imperative that students have exposure to this history and inspiration. This line is subjective and may not be true for every American student and family. We want to assume good faith, but given Allen's track record of harmful legislation towards Black people, we have to ask what is really motivating this bill. What will be the unintended consequences of this legislation, especially as it relates to Black students? People don't learn from broadcasts, they learn from critical engagement. Schools should be safe places for students to learn and grow, not a space for political indoctrination by state-mandated broadcasts. Vote no to SB 2. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Allen?
This morning, I was leaving Tuscaloosa, coming this way, and as I entered Chilton County, I was listening to Rick and Bubba. And at 6 o'clock, they played the national anthem. Last night, I was watching my grandson play baseball in Bibb County in Centerville, in which we won 1-0. We beat Tuscaloosa County High School. And hearing the national anthem at the ballpark and seeing the few students that was there. But I was surrounded by military people, veterans. And this is important to help our children and future generations to come to love and cherish this great nation of ours. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I've got, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Allen. Okay, have a move for favorable by Senator Butler, second by Senator Price.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
He's first.
Senator
No, let him go on.
you're recognized.
I don't mind yielding to him.
You're recognized first.
You sure? I mean, I know you are, but I don't mind yielding.
You're fine.
Okay. The senator that sponsored this bill, he and I have over the years, we talked about it yesterday. We've sponsored a lot of legislation that has had a very positive impact on the state over the years we've been here. But let me just say it to everybody in here, and you probably heard me say something to this effect. Sometimes you don't know, and I'm not talking about you, Senator, I'm talking about people. The whole element of the necessity to have diversity in coming up with your ultimate decisions is that because there are people who may not understand, who may not have lived, who may not have felt, who may not have faced situations that would provide them the insight to feel different. Remember what I told you, keep saying about the airplane? If all you looking at is that you want to be patriotic, then you look straight down there and be patriotic. But if you want to be sensitive to the hurt that was intentionally inflicted on a part of your population who don't see it that way because they were the ones who were hurt. Not you, but the people who wasn't hurt, it doesn't matter to them. It's not sensitive to them. And they think because they have not heard the voices, I didn't say that the people didn't cry, but they hadn't heard the voices of the people who is hurting, then it shouldn't matter to them. But of all times in our life, and I've said this before, there has been so much emotional, physical, and opportunity pain in this 1 month that have been put on the black people in this state alone right now. And we have put our foot on people's necks in opportunity in the last 3 weeks more than we have in almost the 30 years I've been here. That thing about diversity and all like that, couldn't have opportunities for people. Now we talking about here, we want to ram down their throat that black children has got to sing this thing here, who in the third stanza talking about that we glorify you being enslaved, and if you leave, you're a wretch and you ought to be taken out. That's basically my little interpretation of what we're saying. And not singing one verse and the other don't change what the song does. It's offensive. When y'all gonna get off our backs, man? When you gonna stop with your foot all over us on every little thing we trying to do? Everything. You know, it's just to see how much you can put your foot in our faces. How much? What's going to be the next thing that's eating at 3 o'clock that's going to be rammed in our face? What's going to be the next thing Thursday? It ain't always been this way. This kind of attitude toward another group of people has not been that ignored and silent over all the years. When are we going to stop?
Senator.
When are we going to stop? And I know we got to go, Mr. Chairman, but my question is, and I'm asking the question, when are we going to stop? We've argued this thing in 3 or 4 years. You know, everybody in there know what this does to the African-American population. You know, I done been too eloquent in explaining it to you. And you don't care? You just don't care about us? Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Senator Stutz, you had a comment?
No, I had a question. What's the school policy currently about the Pledge of Allegiance? How is it done on a regular basis, and how often, or is there even a policy? Is that the individual schools?
I think the Speaker Ledbetter passed a piece sometime back, requiring schools to say the pledge each day. That's the current policy. And this piece right here requires to be the first stanza only once a week on a Friday morning.
Senator Hatcher.
Senator Allen.
Yes, sir.
Why does it have to be a constitutional amendment? That's my concern. Does it have to be a constitutional amendment for this compulsory response to the singing of the national anthem?
Well, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it's my hope that this great land will still be great and powerful and loved by all citizens that find their home here in America. And that's why I think it's important.
So your thinking is that if you don't codify it in the state's constitution, it will just go away if you don't?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. That's your thought, I guess, but no.
So you're not telling me why it's a constitutional amendment then? Because it could be done otherwise, right?
Yeah, I'm saying I think it's important for us to have it codified in the Constitution.
Okay.
I do think it's important for that to happen. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, members, we have exceeded our time. We have an Education Budget Committee meeting. We will continue these conversations as we move forward with this legislation. Have a favorable by Senator Butler, second by Senator Price. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Senator Butler. Senator Chastain.
Aye.
Senator Figures. Senator Gudger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Price. Senator Shellnut. Senator Smitherman.
No.
Senator Stutz.
4-2, bill's given a favorable report.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Smitherman, you're recognized.
I just wanted to make the committee aware that there was no reason to rush because the chairman is not even here. We can't get started on the Education Budget Committee. He's outside.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that back then. I just didn't see him
I
in.
didn't want to rush us. I want everybody to have an opportunity to speak, and hopefully we were able to do that. Senator Allen, the bill's getting a favorable report. Thank you, committee members. We stand adjourned.